Let's say that you've had the worst day in your corporate career and you're like, there has to be a better way. And here you are on YouTube looking for opportunity, and you landed on Kim Daly TV on a video where I want to bring you into my studio and I want to explain to you who invests in a franchise, why they invest in a franchise, how much money it costs to invest in a franchise, and how I can play a role in helping you find the perfect franchise. So if you've had the worst day, I'm so happy that you're here. And if you haven't had the worst day, but you're still here, I'm still happy that you're here. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kim Daly, and I am a franchise consultant. What that means is for the last 22 years, I have been helping people just like you say yes to the dream to change their life, to get control personally, professionally, and financially, and help them learn to leverage the proven systems of a franchise. My job as a franchise consultant is to match you to some of the best franchise opportunities out there today, and then to coach your discovery process so that you can feel confident that you've asked the right questions, you've talked through the right things, and that when you go to make that final decision, yes or no, you feel absolutely confident in the decision that you're making. So that's my offer to you. If you are interested in beginning the discovery process, stay with me until the end of this video because you need this information anyway. And I will explain how you could be my next candidate. So let's start at the beginning. Who invests in a franchise? People like you. That's who. People who are in miserable situations in corporate America. And you know what's fair? People who are not in miserable situations in corporate America. There's lots of people who love their career, but maybe they don't love having to travel, or maybe they don't love their current boss, or maybe there's an impending layoff and they don't like the feeling that they have to wake up every day wondering, am I going to be the one that gets laid off this time? So there are people like you who've had a bad day, who've had a bad 10 years, who are like, I was made for more than what I'm getting in corporate America. They have goals and dreams of their own. They desire freedom, personal, professional, and financial freedom. That's who turns to franchising. The other person that I often work with is somebody who's already found freedom through real estate investing, and they have a portfolio, but they often find themselves very net worth rich, but cash poor. And so they realize, wait, I need to add business cash flow into this portfolio to make this complete. And so they also come looking for a franchise. Now, why do people look for a franchise? So, compared to starting a business from scratch as an entrepreneur, as a franchisepreneur, you're buying down the learning curve of starting a business because you're partnering yourself with people who've already figured out how to make money. So, it's in that trying to make money period that 90% of startup entrepreneurs fail. They run out of money before they really figure out how to make money because they haven't clearly defined a customer avatar or a process of bringing those customers into the business. And so it's in all of that trial and error of figuring out how to make money that they run out of money and then they're bankrupt. So in a franchise, all of that's already been figured out. So when you pay that franchise fee, which is the one-time fee that you give to the franchisor, I affectionately call the franchise fee the cost of entry into their Disneyland. So this is the one-time fee that you give the day that you sign your franchise agreement, you go to the bank and you wire that money, and now you are officially a franchisee. So that franchise fee buys down that learning curve. You're paying that fee and you are getting a business plan, initial training, access to vendors, access to technology, ongoing accountability support. So it's everything you need. When you hear the phrase franchising is business in a box, that's what we mean, right? You're paying that franchise fee and you're getting all of these ready-made tools that allow you to come in without experience in that industry, without prior business ownership experience even, and without an MBA, and to go through this training and go through your own learning curve and to ultimately learn to become a successful business owner by being mentored by those people who founded this franchise. Okay. So remove the branding labels of franchising, what we think of, what we know, the Chick-fil-A's and Jersey Mike's and all the big brands. Just strip it down to the basics of what am I actually getting when I invest in a franchise? That's what you're actually getting. Okay. The business setup, the tools, the initial training, vendors, technology, and this ongoing support. In addition, you are becoming a part of a greater community of people who work together to solve the problems of a business, the now problems and the future problems. So when you're an entrepreneur and you're out there and you're thinking, I'm going to go start a business, you don't have any idea what kind of mountains are coming up ahead of you. Well, when you become a franchisepreneur, not only are those upcoming mountains leveled to molehills, but as new mountains approach you because the economy changes or the customer changes or there's a pandemic, there's all these things that we can't predict. You're not out there on your own trying to blaze a trail through this unknown wilderness, figuring it out. You're partnered with people who collectively and collaboratively come together to find the solutions to these problems. Doesn't that just feel so much better, even as I say that? Of course it does. And that's what makes franchising as an investment in a business a way better deal for you than going out there blazing a trail as an entrepreneur. For the average person who wants to invest some money and some time and build a business, franchising makes way more sense than entrepreneurship does. Do you agree? If not, stay with me. Okay, we've defined who comes to me and why they come, why franchising is on their mind. They can buy down that learning curve. They don't need an MBA, don't need prior business ownership experience. And oh, you don't need millions of dollars either, right? That's a misnomer. People think, well, franchises cost more money than entrepreneurship does. No, they don't. That is not a true statement. That is a myth that I have busted on other videos. So franchises cost money because you have to invest money to build a business, but it shouldn't cost you more money than entrepreneurship. It should cost you less money because it's a proven path. And every dollar that you spend is moving you effectively and efficiently toward that profitability moment. Now, the other thing about a franchise is as you're trying to get up the curve, going through your discovery process to figure out, is this the right business for me? Are these the people for me? How much money can I make? When can I cash flow? You're not just shooting darts into the air. You're going to be able to follow a proven process to learn about the franchisor's proven process. It's part of what I offer as a franchise consultant, but really strong franchisors have a process to take you through that will help you get the leadership and the confidence that you need in their systems and processes that will be there for you ultimately when you say yes and become a franchisee. So franchisors who kind of leave you to your own devices to figure out what are the questions, to go through your own process to know if you want to invest in their business, I'm like, run fast from those people. If the franchisor isn't smart enough to have a process to teach you about their processes in their franchise, to me, this is a major red flag. It should be a major red flag to you also. So these are some of the reasons that franchising is so appealing to the average person who's had a bad day in corporate America, who's looking for options, who wants to build stability and security and maybe even meaning, maybe more passion, more control into their life. We're all looking for more time, freedom, financial freedom. These are things everybody's looking for, and franchising affords those things to you if you come and you invest in the right franchise and then you act in a certain way that can produce a certain outcome. So that's who comes and why they come. So now let's talk about how much money do I need? You said it doesn't cost millions of dollars, Kim, but how much money does it cost? Okay, so this question is a little bit trickier to answer in a format like this, but I'm going to attempt it in a very high level way. But I'm going to say this first. If you come to me and allow me to be your franchise consultant, helping to match opportunity to you, you and I are going to have a very specific conversation about what your money buys. So I'm going to have you fill out a very simple net worth statement. So when we get into this hour-long consultation, I understand your finances and I can relate your ability to be qualified to certain opportunities. So franchises typically have liquidity requirements and some have net worth requirements. I will explain how all of this works and why they have these requirements when we talk one-to-one. It's just a little bit too deep for this video. Now, to answer the question, well, how much do franchises cost? There is a wide range of investments in franchising, from under $100,000 businesses to businesses that cost two, three, four, $5 million. And there's a million shades of gray in between. So if you're out there on your own and you're like, well, I love the idea of investing in a franchise, but where do I begin? What can I afford? And let's say that you turn to Entrepreneur 500. Well, the numbers that you see listed in a list like that are just these kind of high level net worth and liquidity numbers. It doesn't tell you anything about what the actual investment is in the franchise. Even if you go to the franchisor's website and they've listed the initial investment and the net worth requirement, you still don't have what you need to know if you qualify and what that business actually costs. What does that mean? Well, what it means is franchisors will often list the initial investment, which is what they're required to list in their franchise disclosure document, which is their legally binding document that they must produce for you according to the Federal Trade Commission. But that initial investment doesn't have to be the total investment. It's the initial investment. Sometimes, oftentimes, when you're building a business, there's more money needed than what you need to get your doors open. There's this cash flowing problem, right? We've got to get this thing to where we have enough customers coming in, producing revenue that then we can turn around and pay our bills from, right? That's the cash flow part. So that's the part that you must validate with other franchisees. So when you first decide that you want to explore a brand, good franchisor will have a process to take you through where they're going to get to know you as you get to know them. And they're going to teach you about their industry and their company and how they're growing. And you're going to get excited. And then they're going to break down what it costs to open their business and go through their earnings claims so you can see on average what they're claiming people are earning in their franchise. And let's say this makes you lean in a little bit more. Well, then you're going to get on a third call. And maybe on the third call, they're going to talk about the training, the technology, the marketing, the suite of tools that they've created to help you make that money they told you could make on the previous call. And now you're really getting excited. You're waking up in the middle of the night dreaming about this business. And you're like, I can't wait to get on the next call. Well, the fourth call will probably include conversations about mapping. So if you have a business that goes out into a territory, you can start looking at the zip codes that would be included in your territory and maybe doing some drive-bys through neighborhoods to visualize the type of homes and customers that you would be serving. If you have a business that requires a brick and mortar location, then you might go through some discussion of how the franchisor is going to help you find that real estate and negotiate that lease and get that store up and operating. Okay, so these are sort of the standard calls that most franchisors will take you through in some order. Now, during this time, a good franchisor is also going to have you meet some of the founders, maybe have you get on a founder's call so you can get bought into the founder's story. Like, who started this franchise and why? Well, that is another reason that you may start to lean in. A lot of times when you hear the founder's story, that's when you really start to connect to the values and the mission of a business. Now, you may also be getting on marketing calls with some of the people that will be there to help you, build your business through finding the right customers. Again, you should be getting the confidence through this process that these people that you're going to be investing in, if you become a franchisee, that they have your back, that they know how to help support you, that they have the tools that you need. in order to get up the learning curve of owning this business and building a positively cash flowing business. So once you've gone through these types of calls, then the franchisor will give you access to some of their existing owners. Okay. So it's a process. You have to be patient. You can't just go straight to franchisees. And listen, if you go on and you become a franchisee, you're going to be very grateful that franchisors are gatekeepers and they're just not sending every Tom, Dick, and Harry who has the dream to own a franchise, who's not even qualified, who's not really even leaning in, to call you. And then you're expected to spend time with these people answering questions that the franchisor could have answered. The franchisors want the opportunity to get to know you and make sure that you fit in their culture and that you're leaning in. So when they grant you access to their franchisees, you're not wasting people's time. It doesn't mean there's pressure. You have to go on and say yes. It just means that if they can be selective and filter out people during the upfront calls, then they can save their owners time for the people who are really leaning in. When you start this validation process of talking to other owners, this is really where you're going to understand how much money people are making, how much it costs them to open the business, and knowing what they know now, would they do it again? Do they feel well trained? All the questions that you have, these people had those same questions, anxieties, and concerns, and somehow they were able to push themselves through that to get on the other side. And now they're going to share those experiences with you to hopefully help you push through your fears and get to the other side. That is the perpetuation of a franchise, and it's how franchise systems are built. So that's kind of the process. So again, to recap what we're doing on this video, we've talked about who invests in a franchise, why they invest in a franchise. And now we've covered high level kind of what different businesses cost. As I mentioned, there's a whole lot of investment ranges out there on your own. It's really hard to determine how much money you need. I've outlined the process of how you're going to learn about that, because you're not even going to learn about it from your franchise consultant. You shouldn't anyway. You are learning about how much it costs to invest in a franchise first by the franchisor, and then we're validating what we're hearing by franchisors by talking to their existing owners who are up and operating. So that's where the process comes into play. And so the long and short answer of, how much does it cost to invest in a franchise is nobody can really tell you. You have to get into the process of exploring that business and do the proper due diligence for yourself. And you will determine for yourself what you believe it will cost you to open this business, when you think you can cash flow, and ultimately how much money you believe you can make, because nothing matters more than what you believe to be true. Now, you're going to borrow the belief of other people in the franchise to kind of get in the ballpark of where your belief should be. But at the end of the day, if nobody's making the kind of money that you want to make in a particular franchise, it doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means nobody's done it yet, and the door is open for you. All right, so that's how much money it costs. The last thing I want to cover is, how do people afford this? That is a very good question. You may be sitting out there thinking, yeah, Kim, I've had a really bad day at work, but I don't have millions of dollars just sitting around in my checking account. So while I love the idea of investing in a business, how do I afford to do this? Okay, so when we gather your financials, remember I said we would do that, you're going to list for me your liquid assets. So I'm going to count for liquidity. So for liquidity, I'm going to include cash, stocks and bonds, and equity in your 401k. So these three things are liquid. Now, you may be thinking, my 401k isn't liquid. I'm not touching my 401k. Okay. If you're new to my channel, perhaps you haven't heard me talk about a program called the ROBS program, which is the rollover for business startup. Okay. This is a way for you to use your 401k from a company that you are no longer tethered to. So if you've been severed from your corporate job and you have money in that 401k, you can use that 401k without creating a taxable event for the purposes of starting a business. Now, Kim Daly is not the financial expert. I know enough to be dangerous here, and this is about all I'm going to tell you to be dangerous, but I want to leave you with the confidence that if you're questioning how am I going to finance this business? I have the resources for you. So I'm not going to give you the specific information. I'm going to lead you to the people who are the experts at franchise lending. And they're going to look at your liquidity, your credit score, your income to debt ratio. I mean, they have all kinds of criteria. And they're also going to be able to tell you what kind of loans you may qualify for. So, how do people finance franchises? Using cash, using 401k rollovers, and using loans. So, when you come to me as part of what we do together, I will absolutely lead you to some amazing people. These are my friends. I couldn't help the number of people that I help without having lending options. So, you don't need millions of dollars sitting in your bank account in order to invest in a franchise. You do need a little bit of cash or access to cash and an open mind. And I'll lead you to the financial experts. And together, you two will put together different options for ways that you might be able to fund your franchise dreams. Okay. So that's all I'm going to tell you about that. Now, the last thing I think that I want to cover here is, what if I can't quit my job to start a business? Well, if you were going to be an entrepreneur, I'd say, well, it's probably not the right time to start a business. But in franchising, we have these sort of special opportunities that allow for what's called semi-absentee ownership, or a semi-involved owner. So what this type of business would allow you to do is to stay tethered to the corporate job for insurance benefits or for the salary while you're ramping the business. Now, not every corporate job will give you the flexibility and the freedom that you need to launch a business. So you have to be self-directed and honest. Do you have the type of corporate job where you can work the job and have the time necessary to build your business? If not, it may not be the right time. But if you're in outside sales, or you work from home, or you just have a lot of flexibility in your day. Some people tell me they have the kind of corporate job where they can do their work in a couple hours a day and they literally have the rest of the day free. That's amazing. Why not try to double dip? Nothing says you have to quit your W-2 job in order to launch a franchise business. You are the only one who can really determine if you have to do that by the job that you have, but also by your personality, right? Sometimes it's just hard to invest our life savings into a business and then leave it in the hands of a general manager and other people while you're over here working this job that you don't even love. But on the flip side, if you're trying to build to a future where you get to own it and control it, and the only path there is by building this bridge, by tethering yourself with a job while you launch the business, then go for it. Come to me and we'll massage this conversation and we'll talk about what the various options are. We'll lead you to lending. You know what's great about keeping your job? Oftentimes you might have more options for lending than if you have no cash coming in because you quit your job, right? If you have a spouse that is continuing to work while you quit your job, that is also awesome. So everybody's situation is a little bit different. And really, the best way to tackle this conversation is one-to-one, me and you over Zoom. But today I wanted to invite you into my studio because I want to break the ice. I know that if you've had a bad day and you're searching the internet and you landed on Kim Daly TV, you may still be a little intimidated to reach out to me. I know I'm super scary, but you may think, I don't know, I don't want to waste your time. You are never wasting my time. I am here for you. This is what I do. It's why I love what I do. If you're inspired to begin a conversation, you do not have to know this is going to be the next thing for you. All I want is an open mind, an open heart, and some time where we can figure it out. And I promise you, we're going to figure it out pretty quickly. The number one reasons people come here are money and time. You want more money and you want more time? Well, listen, the number one and number two reason that people go away is money and time, or timing. So together, we're going to figure out if lack of money is why you can't afford to invest in a franchise right now. No biggie. I'm going to invest the time to educate you so you'll know when to call me back. I'm not going to squelch your dreams. I'm going to inspire you to go and then come back and call Kim Daly when you're ready. But if we make it past money and we get into the process of meeting franchisors, you will figure out if the time is right or if it's not right. And you'll probably figure that out in the first 1 to 2 weeks of working through my process. This is a highly refined process that I've been perfecting for 22 years. So if you're out there on the sideline, you've had the worst day or just another bad day, and you're like, I'm ready for more, please know that I would love to meet you. I would love to educate you about the benefits of investing in a franchise and potentially help you change your life. If you've made it to this far in the video, then you deserve to be my next candidate. Please follow the link below. That will lead you right to my contact form where I personally will reach right out to you so we can open up this conversation, have some fun, and maybe, just maybe, change your life.